All right, Algebra 2Bers, we are getting close to the end of this trimester. Here's your Unit 9 conic section test review. Let's get started. Every picture tells a story, so we're going to get started with the information given here. Vertex 0, 0, meaning they told us it's a parabola, so we know we're in this world. And we know it's not going to have this or this, this or this, because the vertex has already not been shifted. So we know it's going to come from one of these two. So with that being said, the directrix, which is our soil, y equals 3, 1, 2, 3, horizontal line. Remember how I taught it. Love to put on the performance now, but I don't think it's appropriate time. That's our soil. This is our vertex. So we know our parabola tulip opens up away from the soil. We also know by looking at it that c equals 3. We also know, because back to the Pac-Man logic, if we turn our parabola into a Pac-Man, it's going to be gobbling up points in the downward direction, which gives us a huge clue. So clue number 1, it's going to be a y equals, I'm going to substitute that with a, because a equals 1 over 4c. It's just easier to write. Y equals x squared, but we know a is negative. We know c is 3, and if we put these two things together, use that formula, a equals 1 over 4 times c, but it's negative. That little negative, you're not going to get that unless you draw the picture. So that's negative 1/12. We just have to put it here, and we are donezos with this first problem. And there's the equation. Next one, again, draw a picture. Focus is 0, 7. I'm not going to be too accurate here, but 0, 7 is right there. Directrix y equals negative 1. So again, my drawing is not going to be proportionate, so you're going to have to just deal. Now what do we know? Well, the focus, what I called it, was the pistil. This is the soil. So the vertex is always halfway. So if this is down 1 and this is up 7, that's a total of 8 units from here to here. So I either have to go down 4 from here or up 4 from here. Regardless, it's going to put me at 0, 3. That's my vertex. So with that drawing, I know there's no shift in my x. Here's all the things that I know from that drawing. Number 1, I know this is in y equals ax squared kind. This time, because my Pac-Man is gobbling points heading in the positive y direction, a is positive. I know c is 4, and I can put these together right now using my formula. A equals 1 over 4c. That's 1 over 4 times 4, which is 1/16. So I can put that in there right now, but there's a little shift. Notice my vertex has gone up 3. And that's going to take us to this, where k has to be plus 3. So I'm going to put a plus 3 on the end. There's no shift right or left for the vertex, so I don't have to mess with this. And that's it for number 4, or for number 2. Number 3, running out of space to draw, but here we go. Focus is negative 4, 0. Remember, that's our pistil. Directrix, this time it's x equals 4, so it's a vertical line. Gotta know that. So a whole bunch of clues start. This is my soil. This is my pistil. So if this is to the right 4 and this is to the left 4, that puts my vertex right on the origin, halfway. So I also know that C is 4. I could have gotten it from this side, but I went to that side. So I got all these clues. Number 1, my tulip parabola blossoms away from the soil, wraps around the pistil / focus. So here come the clues. I know this is x equals ay squared kind. I also know that it's not going to be this because the vertex is 0, 0, so I'm going to use this. All I got to do is find C and keep track of my information. Well, we know that A has to be negative, because if we turn that into a Pac-Man, he's going to be gobbling up points in the negative x direction. C is 4 again. As soon as I get those two clues, I like to immediately plug it into this formula. So it's going to be 1 over 4 times 4, but I know it's negative, don't forget it. So it's negative 1/16. If I put all those clues together, I get x equals negative 1/16 y squared. I don't have to make any adjustments because my vertex is 0, 0. On to number 4. Put the drawing right here. Negative 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Negative 3, negative 1, negative 3, negative 1. So my vertex is right here. My pistil is right here. So that means I get a generic drawing like that, and all of a sudden clues are everywhere. This has to be a y equals ax squared kind because it opens up or down. Number 2, I know that A has to be negative, and I can just look at the drawing and say C is, this is negative 1, that's 2, that's a total of 3. Now the vertex would be 3 units up from here, excuse me, the directrix, the soil, but they're not asking for that. They're asking for find the equation. So once we dug up that C is 3, we can get moving with these two clues using the formula A equals 1 over 4C, but we know it's negative, so it's negative 1/12. If we just put it where it belongs, we get y equals negative 1/12 x squared. Now, we would be done if the vertex was right here, but it's not. Notice it moves left 3, and that's my x. It moves up 2, so that's my y. So how do I make those adjustments? Well, remember the opposite rule here. So this really has a 5th step. Y equals negative 1/12. Make the adjustment here. Left 3 results in an x plus 3 squared. And the focus, excuse me, the vertex went up 2, so I got to put a plus 2 there. And that's how you get it done. Number 5, what's the equation of this parabola? So this time they give you the picture. You don't have to build it. So this should be actually easier. Notice C right here is 2. So I'm going to go through my checklist like I've been doing. I see that this Pac-Man is gobbling up points to the negative x direction. That means it's an x equals ay squared kind. It also tells me that A must be negative. We just discovered that C is 2, so hopefully you can see the repetitiveness of all this. A equals 1 over 4 times C, which is 2, but it has to be negative. If you forget that negative, not good. So now I just put that A right where it belongs, and I'll be done because the vertex is 0, 0. There's no shifting. So x equals negative 1/8 y squared. Done. All right, number 6, going to throw a little story problem at us. Remember, we're dealing with parabolas and circles. So this is just a unique way to create one of those situations. But you can see it says a flashlight reflector. We did a couple of these in class. Has a cross section of a parabola. So they're just telling you, use a parabola. Now this is a generic little flashlight that I've drawn, and if it's pointing that way, you've got the cross section here. If you really look at a flashlight, shape of a parabola, and then it's got the light bulb right here. The bulb is at a focus, so that means it wraps around the bulb. 0.75 inches from the vertex of the reflector, which is at the origin. So they're trying to make your life easy. So it's like this. I put a 1 here. So the light bulb is right about there, 0.75 or 3/4. So they're saying 0.75 equals C. They're also saying, it's going to look something like this, clues all over the place. This is y equals ax squared. This is also a is positive, and we know that C is 3/4 or 0.75 of a unit. Again, put these together using your formula. A equals 1 over 4C. And so this is 1 over 4 times 0.75. Now, I'm going to choose to turn that into 3/4 because it's just easier to work with, because these 4's would cancel, and this would turn out to be 1/3. You'd get the same thing if you multiplied this 4 times 0.75 with your calculator. So 1/3, and we can be done. So that's y equals 1/3 x squared. So, and it says, oh, and I never read this, but when I was drawing it, I had read it. The parabola models a cross-section, the parabola opens up. I should have said that right away before I started to draw it, but I already knew it, so sorry for getting that information out of order. Well, let's dive into circles. So remember, let me pause this a second. So from our little cheat sheet here, circles, this is the generic equation if your center is 0, 0. This is the generic equation if you have a shifted center. Don't be thinking that it has to be minus. So that can be a plus, that can be a plus, so don't get too locked into that. So with that being said, I transferred it right here. We're going to use those two equations as our foundation. So it says write the equation of each circle and then graph each. So the first thing we should do, take a look at our center. Because we have to graph it, let's graph it appropriately. -1, 2 would take our center right there. Radius is 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Remember, there's an infinite number of these points. But we're just going to grab these 4 and draw it. So we're going to have to use this formula because the center's been shifted. Remember, this is my x shift, this is my y shift. So it's kind of opposite land in this situation. So x plus 1 squared moves it left 1, plus y minus 2 squared moves it up 2. And then don't forget, it's not equal to r, it's equal to r squared. So we take the radius and square it, and you're done. Let's try it on this one. 2, -4. There's the center. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I just mean the origin. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's the center of the circle. Radius is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Do your best at trying to draw this. All right, and there's my drawing. Best I could do. So, centers this. We're going to use this. So x minus 2 squared plus y plus 4 squared. Remember, take the opposite, and then we have to square that 25. See, that's not too bad. But now they're going to give us an equation and ask us to find things. So the equation of the circle is diddle-a-diddle-a-duh. What's the center? Well, that should be pretty easy. That moves it right 3, so it's 3 to the right. This moves it down 7, so it's down 7. There's the center. Now what's the length of the radius? Well, we have to be careful. Remember the formula. It's equal to r squared. So we know that r squared equals that number, whatever that is. And then we go bada boom, bada bing. Now if you've been around, I get in the habit of going do the right thing. But radius can't be negative, so it's the square root of 23. I'm not sure if they're going to make us convert that to a decimal, but I will in just 2 seconds. So I can see the square root buttons right there. Second, square root 23. we'll call it 4.8. They want that as an actual number. I'm okay with you just saying it's the square root of 23, but on a standardized test they might change it to 4.8. Okay, now they're going to mix it up on us. What's the equation of the parabola? So we got to go back to our parabola thoughts shown in the graph. Well, clearly this is a Pac-Man gobbling up points along the y-axis in a positive direction. So that gives us a whole bunch of clues. Number 1, y equals ax squared. Get the basics. Number 2, a has to be positive because it's opening up to the positive. 3, c, we can just observe it. Careful with these weird units. So this is 5. Yeah, that's a 6, that's a 4, that's a 2. So this has to be 5 up. But it's also, follow this line, 5 to the right. So weird grid, but that point right there is 5, 5, unless my eyes are messing with me. And the vertex right here, which is extremely important, is 5 to the right, and then 3. So I'm going to draw that right there. 5, 3. Now that's a lot of information, but I can see, no pun intended, that the C is 2 units. From 3 to 5 is 2. So if I put those things together, A equals 1 over 4C. I get a positive 1/8. So I can at least get started on my fourth step by just putting that where it belongs. But I have to ask myself the question, is this my answer? The answer would be yes if this vertex was right here at the origin, and you can see it's not. So we have an additional step. So y equals 1/8 x. It moved the vertex right 5, so it has to be minus 5. And then it moved it up 3, so I got to add a plus 3. And that's how you do it. We're going to call that good for part 1, and we'll see you soon. Like and subscribe.